everyone, thanks for tuning in. You're watching Christian Adventure Gamer, and I'm your host, Daniel the Paladin.
And I'm Alex the Rogue.
And today we're going to go through the tutorial portion of Maladum. And so what we'll do is we will play the 4 rounds that the intro shows us, explaining what we're doing, why we're doing it, based on how the rules or the instructions tell us to play this. Then we're going to cut the video, and then we'll pick up another video where we left off with us finishing the tutorial, hopefully surviving, right? And so in this tutorial, our objective is to get the objective that is in, there's a tomb here, which I'll show here in a second, and get whatever's in it, and then get back out, all right? So to kind of start off, the tutorial starts with 2 players. One is the Callan, and the other one is
Morana.
Yep. And so mine is basically like the fighter, and hers is kind of like the sorceress, right? Mm-hmm. And so let's go ahead and change views, and we can explain more of what's going on that way. This is my character here, okay? So we have Callan. This token here represents when your turn is over, so you put that on your player board when you're done, right? And so, oops, I dropped that. On the other side, if you get knocked out, this means you need assistance, and then you put that on your player board to show that you need assistance. So I'm going to start my character here, because he'll go first, and then she can put her character on this board here, which is the staging area. So that means that basically this is where we're entering from and going into this dungeon.
Yeah.
Okay, and so this is the objective here. Get into this tomb here and get whatever's in it and get out. And so we are just raiding a tomb because it seems like a fun thing to do on this nice shiny day. However, we didn't realize that there were still occupants in this dungeon, right? We'll find that out as we go, right? To explain more of my character, he starts with a armor, which is going to give him 1 defense against attacks. He starts with an axe, a hand axe here, in his inventory slot. So this is where you can put items that you find. If it does not fit, then you cannot carry it. Okay, I'll show this up here. And then we start with 4 life pegs, 2 skill pegs, and a blue magic peg. Okay, these slots here are for conditions. So there's positive conditions like a blessing, which you'll find out in this tutorial. And then there's poison, which those are just nasty. We'll explain those more later. Okay, and then Alex can show hers. Or I'll show hers. And so she's actually going to start with the Rook class. Mine started with the Sellsword. And she's going to start with 2 spells. That's why there's 2 dots there. And then she's actually going to start with 3 life. So you can see here. Tells you how many life you start with, how many spell points to start with, and then, or not spell, skill, and then spell, right? And then this indicates here, this purple indicates how many actions are going to need to be taken per turn. And she starts with a 3 green peg, 2 purple. It's actually pink, but it says purple in the book, and then 2 of the blue. And then she has 2 spells picked out for her character, which the tutorial indicated. So she's going to start with Bless. It says target gains X blessed counters. And then Focused Energy. That's an attack spell. These are helpful spells. And so X, I believe, is the level of the spell. So this is level 1. And then if you look here, there's a level 2. And on the back, there's a level 3. And level 4. And then she too will get a marker to indicate when her turn is done. She does not start with any weapons, or not weapons, armor. She does start with an apple as a morsel that she can eat later, and a staff. So her staff is going to roll 2 dice for an attack. Mine is going to roll 2 dice as well. And this symbol here represents, it's a reach attack. She can attack for 1 additional space away. All right. There are other things that are happening in the rules that aren't actually played out in this tutorial. For example, on my weapon, if you can see, there's actually a gold outlining to the number that indicates how many dice I roll. That would represent that I can push this weapon a little harder, but I run the risk of breaking my weapon. And we don't want broken weapons in this tutorial, because it really, really stinks. Alright, we also have the Doom Tracker here. The Doom Tracker represents the level of threat and magic in the area. So in this tutorial, they're having us start with 2 black pegs. At the beginning of each round, we'll add a black peg to this tracker. And so we actually have to get in and get out before the trackers reach dismay. So it goes disquiet, distress, dismay, desperation, and disaster. So we have to get out before a peg reaches this first slot here. And then these indicate here where the monsters can enter the board. There are also grave points on the map. Here, 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 and then I think there's one in here. That indicates that monsters can come out of those. So there's a black die that we roll. Can you give me that black die? It indicates how many monsters might come out based on the threat level per round, and if they come out of the ground. We have a crate here that's got some goodies in it, a chest that's got some goodies in it, and then also the tomb that's got some goodies in it. We can spend actions to search those, we can spend actions to move, we can spend actions to attack. We also have some like free actions, but there is another term they use for it that is called an effortless action. Effortless actions would allow you to move an additional space or open a door, at least in this tutorial for right now. I don't know what else they might be able to do. We also have the monster stats here. So we have the Lamenters and the Moria that we'll be dealing with in this tutorial. It shows here that the Lamenters will attack with 2 dice. And they also have a poison, which if they roll a crit, which I'll explain more later, they would do a poison damage. And then the Moria have 1 defense and roll 2 dice to attack. These stats down here aren't necessarily in play this tutorial. The only one that is in play is the first strike, which means that when the monster moves closest to another character, they can make an attack. So what I'm going to be doing for my turn is I am going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I am going to search this crate, and it's going to give me some goodies. Let's see what I find. Put those back there. And I found what looks like a bow and an arrow. So that means I have ammunition for the bow, and I can go ahead and place that on my character board. If it lets me. There we go. So now I've added them. So now I have 2 weapons to use. And this indicates here short distance, medium distance, and how many dice I attack with. So if I attack in short distance, I'm only rolling 1 die. If I roll in medium distance, I can roll 2 dice. And distance is measured with these rulers here. This is short distance. As it makes sense, it's short. And you would think this one is long distance because how long it is, but actually that's the medium distance. Whereas long distance covers the range of the board itself. Alright, so that's it for my turn. Then Alex is going to take her turn. So she's going to move her character to the, that spot there. And then she's going to move. Right, so she actually double moved. So she took 2 actions to get there. You can move diagonal as long as there are no characters, enemies, right, in the adjacent spots. So typically you would move orthogonally, but you can move diagonally when there's nothing in those spots. Alright, so that was the first phase. Actually, we forgot one piece of the first phase, right? We got to put a dread tracker here. So we added a dread tracker to the tracker board. So adding this is called the dread phase. Then we go to the adventure phase. Now we're in the adversary phase. And the adversary phase is where we would try to indicate how many monsters we are getting. So we would actually roll the black die, okay? We'd roll it. However, let's say, for the purpose of this tutorial, we roll that symbol there. It's the little hand. Then we have to look at the grade points, and we're trying to put one of the monsters closest to one of the heroes. So we decide that there's one here, so that's actually 1, 2 away from Callan. We have one that's 1, 2 spaces away from Marana. We have another one here, which is not going to be taking effect, right? Is there any other ones?
There's one right here.
Okay, so there's the other one there. However, we are going to place one of the lamenters, because that's what it indicates, here. Okay? And then there's actually a spreadsheet that indicates how the NPCs operate. And it shows here on page 39 is where you can find it in the rule book, or page 41 in the deluxe rule book. For the sake of this, they give us a breakdown here. So it's, can the NPC reach the target with one of its melee attacks without moving? No. So then we go down to the next one. Is the target in NPC's line of sight? Yes. Does the NPC have ranged weapons or ability can reach the target? No. The NPC will move towards the target via the shortest route. So since there's no characters occupying here, it can move diagonal with the same movement rules, and it's going to attack. And so it's attacking because it has the first strike. If it wasn't moving to the target, if it indicates here that it only has one action. So then when we attack, can you hand me some dice?
Yep.
Right. So when we attack, we are always going to roll the blue die, and then any additional die will be red. The blue die has a critical on it, so it has the 2 pips here. So when it does that is when it would actually do the poison counter. And then we have the skulls here, which have to do with like possibly breaking weapons and weakness and stuff. But for the tutorial, we're going to ignore those and have some blank sides. So we would roll the dice. However, let's say we rolled this instead. So this indicates that it's going to do 1 damage to Callan. So this is a blunder symbol and a hit symbol. So we'll ignore the blunder. And so we can see here that Callan still has that 1 armor on him. So he will ignore that damage. Alright, and that's it. So the phase in which the monster moves is considered the NPC phase. So it goes dread phase, adventure phase, adversary phase where monsters are coming onto the board or adversaries are coming onto the board, NPC where things are moving, and then now we're back to the dread phase. So we're going to add a black peg to here. Right, and this token here represents first player. So I'm actually going to pass this to Alex, and she can go first. So after adding this peg, we actually draw one of these cards here, and we'll read it aloud. It says disquiet. So we are currently in the disquiet portion of the dread tracker. And it says, your presence has sounded an alarm. Increase the dread by 1. So now we have to add an additional dread to the doom tracker. Then it says, distress through dismay and desperation through doom. So thankfully, we are actually not in these other phases, so we can ignore this card for now. And then Alex will take her turn.
So for my turn, I'm going to be casting the Bluff spell on Callan. So I would remove one of my little magic pegs, and you would roll the die. But for the case of the tutorial, let's say I rolled a 3, which is mental recovery. So I would gain the magic peg back, and Callan would gain the bless status. Mm-hmm. However, anytime that you do use magic in the game, a magic peg is added to the dread tracker as well.
Yep. So we'll add a blue peg to the doom tracker here. And now we're still in the disquiet. If we have one more peg, that pushes us into distress. Okay.
And then for my second action, I'm going to move to the door.
Okay. Now you are in front of the door.
Yes. And so one of the effortless actions you can perform is opening a door. So I will go ahead and do that. And does that...
I can't remember which way. Okay, it goes that way, yep. The doors only swing one way.
Yes. And then that would be my turn.
All right. So now it's my turn. So now I start my turn engaged because the Elementor has attacked me. And so what this means is if I try to move, I'm going to provoke an attack of opportunity against me. So I don't want to do that. And so what I want to do is I want to use my little hatchet thing here to attack. So again, I'm going to use the blue die because I have to because of the critical on it. And then I have the red. So let's say I roll these, right? But let's say instead of rolling that, I rolled 2 successes. And so what that means is I'm going to do a damage against the Elementor. And we look at the adversary board here. And we can see that it doesn't have any defense. And it only has no health. Or it has 1 health. So that means both damage go through. And this is being removed from play. But if I had missed, let's say I rolled and I missed the attack, I could have spent my blessed token here to reroll one of the dice, which I would want to reroll this one because there's a chance I could do the critical damage. Now I have 1 action left. So with my move action, I can move. I can go diagonal since there's no adversaries adjacent to me or adjacent to the space I want to move. So then I'm going to go 1, 2, and then use my effortless action to open said door. So open that there, puts me right there, and I'm covering a grave point, which means monsters cannot come out of that as well. Now we're going to go to the adversary phase. So the adversary phase, we're looking at the tracker again, the Doom tracker, and we're still in disquiet, so we're only going to roll the black die. Nothing else is going to be added other than that. So let's say I roll this, right? But instead of getting 1 head, I roll 2 heads, right? Which is going to give us 2 Lamentors to put on the game board. To figure out where they're going to enter at, we're going to roll this magic die, because there's numbers on each side, 1 through 6. And instead of rolling the 3, let's say we roll the 6. So this indicates that these are going to enter on slot number 6, which is right over here. And then we're going to go to the NPC phase. And so we will follow the same process as the previous round with the NPC phase, and they would move towards the closest target. So however, there are no targets because technically they're not on the board yet. They are still off the grid. And so they're going to go to the closest non-target character, which unfortunately is Morana. And in this game, you get a total of 4 movement points. Each character does, even the monsters. So it's going to move 4 spaces towards Morana. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because it only gets 1 action, so it doesn't get the double move. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. Friendlies can move through friendlies, so it's okay that it moves diagonal next to it. So then the last phase that I forgot to mention last round is the assessment phase. The assessment phase is if there are any counters, like negative counters, you'd have to take effect to. You would remove your action token that shows that you've taken your turn, and you reset it. Then we go back to the dread phase. So now we're going to add a peg to the Doom tracker here. And then we're going to read the top card on the dread. I guess they're dread cards?
I think so. So this one is Feeling Lucky. Disquiet. Reduce dread by 1. All adventurers in play become blessed.
Alright, so then she's going to get a blessed token. And I believe I will get a second blessed token. And then we also remove a peg. So that was actually nice. It was very helpful.
Yes.
because we want to try to get as far as we can. And also, I become first player in this round. So then on my turn, I'm going to use my move action to move 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to use my effortless action to move diagonal. So instead of using my second action to attack one of the inventories, since this room is currently empty, I can actually search the room. So that's what I'm going to do with this turn, is I'm going to search the room. So there's actually an inventory bag that I get to search. So this is the bag for inventory. So I'm going to give it a good shake, reach inside, and hopefully I don't pull out a gray token. And I pull out, ooh, it looks like a pole arm spear. So I'm going to put that into my little tracker there inside my inventory slot. So now I have a third weapon I could possibly use. Or if I didn't want it, I could leave it on the ground. But you know what? Maybe that's a better idea for me to do. Is leave that on the ground for Alex to pick up later. And then, because I searched the room, I'm going to put a search token in this location. This means that this room has already been searched and no other players can search the room. Alright, so that ends my turn. So I'm going to take my little indicator here to signify that my turn is now done, which I forgot to do the last couple rounds. Now it's Alex's turn. Or Rorana.
Yes. Alright, so for my turn, I'm going to use the other spell that I currently have, which is Focused Energy, which allows me to attack from a medium range. And so I'm going to be going for the one, we'll say closest to Callan. And it would be within my line of sight. So first I would have to roll this white die, and let's say that I end up rolling a 2, which means that the spell goes through, however, there's no other effects to go with it.
Mm-hmm. That means she loses her peg,
yes.
And the peg would actually go back to the others, but for the purpose of this, we're going to leave it next to the Doom Tracker, because we have to actually add it to the Doom Tracker.
Yes. So then I would go ahead and roll a die to try and attack like normal. So for the purpose of the tutorial, we'll say that I rolled one of the blank sides. Well, I have the blessed status, so I can spend that to re-roll the die, and I got a hit. So then, since the Lamenters have no armor and only have 1 health, it would be gone from the board.
Okay, so remember that, put it with the supply.
And then for my second action, I would move. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And that'd be next to the chest.
Alright, so then we move to the adversary phase. But since Alex used her magic attack, that has pushed us into distress. So now we're going to have to add the Maria, and we have to roll the black die to see how many Lamenters we get. Okay, let's say for the purpose of this tutorial, we actually roll a blank side. That way we don't get any additional monsters added. Now we have to roll to see where the Maria are going to enter. So we're going to roll the magic die. And let's say, for the purpose of this tutorial, we roll a 1 instead. That's not a 1. That's a 1. So that means the Maria is going to enter here. Alright, so now we're going to have to go to the NPC phase.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it comes to monsters, there is a ranking system where the Maria has a rank of 2 and the Lamenters have a rank of 1. So since the Maria have a higher ranking, they will activate first. So the Maria is actually going to move but it has 2 actions as indicated by here. So it will go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, now this guy is going to go. He's going to go diagonal, move 1, and he's now at me. So because he has the first strike, he still gets to attack me because he moved to me. So let's say he rolls the 2 dice because he has 2 attack dice. And let's say for the purpose of this tutorial, he'll actually roll just the critical hit. So now this means that he's scored a critical hit. Regardless if I take damage or not, I also have to take a poison counter. Okay? And so he does inflict 2 points of damage. However, my armor negates one of them, and I will actually remove a life peg, showing that I have taken damage this round. So let's say instead of taking the poison counter and taking the damage, let's say I spend one of these blessed tokens instead to see if I can't negate that damage. And unfortunately, this game hates me. So I still take the damage and I still lose the life. Alright, so now we're on the assessment phase. So this is where these parts, or these tokens come off our board. We check for any status effects, which I didn't have one. So now I have to roll for poison, which I take the magic die and I roll. Let's say, for the purpose of this tutorial, I roll a 4. So the die is rolled for Callan, and the result is 4. This effect forces him to lose one of his valued skill pegs, which he might need later. We decide to spend Callan's Bless counter to re-roll this die in hope for a better result. So I'll use my other Bless token to roll that. And it's a 6. But instead of let's say it's a 6, let's say it is a 2 instead. And then this would cause me to lose a health peg. Alright. And so then let's pass this to Alex, as she will start the next round. Alright, so now we're on the final round.
Yes.
Round 4. So the first thing we do, Alex, is...
add a peg to the Doom tracker.
Yep, so we do that, and then what?
Then we draw a card from the lovely Doom deck.
Yep.
In Fiery Touch, the Malagant channels its magic through its minions. All engaged adversaries make a 2 dice melee attack with fire. Then all unengaged adversaries make a move action.
Alright. So the Lamenters will then now attack me, Callan, because they are right next to me. They are engaged. Let's say I roll these 2 dice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of rolling this, let's say I roll this instead. Which means my armor is going to negate the damage. So thankfully, I survived that. Alright, then the unengaged adversary can move adjacent to Marana.
Yes.
Alright, that was not a good dread phase. That was horrible.
Yeah.
So I guess they're dread cards possibly. Now the adventure phase, Marana's going to go first.
Alright, so unfortunately whenever Marana is engaged, she cannot use spells. And if I were to try and run away, I would be attacked. So I'm going to try to attack using my staff. So I would get to roll the 2 die. And I hit it for 2, which in the tutorial would be exactly what they would have for roll.
Okay.
So
we check the monster stats.
yes, and it has 1 armor. However, since I rolled 2 and it only has 1 health, it would still take the damage and it would be gone from the board.
Alright, yep. So put that back in the supply.
Okay. And so for my next action, I'm still unable to search the chest. So instead, since I'm unengaged now, I'm going to use the focused energy spell again to try and attack the Lamenter.
There's definitely plenty of space there.
Yes. So I'll hand over my magic peg.
Okay. And you'll roll the magic die.
Yes. So rolled a 3, but for the tutorial, I would have rolled a 6.
Okay.
Which is unstoppable, and that means that instead of me casting the spell would have been equivalent to if I had spent 2 magic pegs instead of 1.
So it's doing like basically twice the damage.
So I will roll 2 dice. But for the purposes of this gameplay, I would have rolled a crit and a skull on this one.
Okay.
So, since the Lamenter technically has cover from Callan, it would take 1 away from that. However, I would still have 1 hit left that would hit it, meaning that it would be gone from the board.
Mm-hmm. So which means that because I'm standing next to this, I'm providing some kind of cover, right? Because if she's looking at accuracy rates, she's trying to hit this thing dead on without hitting me. So then because of that, it's going to lose 1 of the damage that it could do, but then does 1 damage, right?
Yes.
And then now is removed from the board.
Yes, and for my effortless action, I'm going to try and throw my morsel to Callan so that he can heal.
Right. Before we do that, I want to remember that because she spent a spell, we have to add a peg to the tracker, which then really reduces the amount of time that we have to get in and get out.
Yes. So whenever you try to throw something, you have to roll I do believe it is the blue die, since it has the critical.
Right.
So if you roll the critical success, it means that the throw makes it all the way. If you get 1 hit, it means that it lands at their feet, I think.
Yep, it lands at their feet.
Yes, and then if it's blank, it lands, I think, somewhere nearby. And then if it's the
skull,
then it's...
I think it's gone.
Yeah.
We'd have to check the main rules for that.
So, I roll. And while I would love to have that, in the tutorial, it shows that it was the 1 singular hit, meaning that it did make it to him, but he unfortunately did not catch it.
Right, so it's at my feet.
Yes. And that would be my turn.
Alright, now free from any enemies on the board, thanks to Morana taking them out. I could actually rest this turn, but before I do that, I'm going to use my effortless action to pick up the morsel and add it to my inventory. So when I rest, resting allows characters to recover their energy, restoring pegs, and removing negative status effects. Resting requires 2 consecutive actions. In addition, items with the rest icon, which is a person kneeling, can boost the effects. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to gain a health token back, because you can either gain a health token or a skill token. So I'm using that to gain the health token, and I'm also going to get rid of the poison counter because it's nasty. Don't like it. Unfortunately, it does take 2 actions to rest. So that will be it for my turn. Alright, so now we go on to the adversary phase, right?
Yeah.
And so we are going to add 1 Maria to the board. And then we are going to roll the black die to see how many Lamenters we get. And we get 1. So we're going to look to where these come in. So we're going to roll the magic die. And I assume that because there are different groups, they enter in different places. We have not looked in the rule book yet to determine where 2 different groups come. And we're past the point in the tutorial where it follows any more instructions.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Maria, since they're higher ranking, are going to enter in the first space. Okay, and then the Lamenters will enter in number 4. which is right next to it, which actually does this pretty well. So then the Mario will go first, because now we're in the NPC phase, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to go 1. What would actually be the fastest route? I believe it would be this way. No, it had to be the same route, because we're basically in the same place we were the last time it came in.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? And then this guy's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's as far as he's going to go. Then we will go to the assessment phase, where we will remove our token here to indicate we've taken our turn. And then we'll start a new round. Alright, so we are now at the part of the game where it's on us to play and try to finish this scenario. So we're going to stop the video here and look for the next video if you want to see how we fare in this introductory game of Maladum. So hopefully you've enjoyed this tutorial, or at least this little walkthrough. Right? There's probably little blunders that we had with things, but we tried to make sure we cleared them up as best we could. Hopefully you're enjoying this so far. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.